Susanna was 30 years old when she decided to depart from her husband, and she had her son Jim also with her from then. Jim was 4 years old at that time. Life was so difficult in front of her. Things were not at all easy. Taking care of the son, looking after the family, going for a job, getting money, and everything seemed so tough in front of her. But she was so hardworking, and she was bold enough, willing enough to go through every struggles. Got a job, and within 10 years, she was able to construct a house of her own. On that day, that joyous day of dedicating that house or inauguration of that house, she, along with her beloved son, moved to that house. The son looked so happy on that day. Many of their friends came, and that evening, when they were joyfully, about to go for sleeping, about to get into their bedroom, the son, little son, Jim was telling to her mother, "It would have been a lot more joyous if my dad also was here with us today." And that sentence, that statement was actually heartbreaking for Susan. She never expected her son to say a sentence like this, because she was just looking back to her life. All this last 10 years, she was actually fighting with life. Nothing seemed positive and encouraging for her, but she was fighting against, struggling with all that, just with two things in mind. One, she has to show to her previous husband that I can succeed in life. And another thing she wanted to achieve in life was to show her son that I will take care of you safely. You will be safe in my hands. But you see, at a joyous time like this, that hope has been shattered because of that one word, one sentence came from her son's mouth. This is a problem where we see in many of the families, separated families. I'm not just talking about separated families, I'm talking about single parents, every kind of single parents, and also I'm talking about children who are born outside a marriage relationship. And their life is like unsafe, insecurity always rules over them. In divorced cases, the children have seen not just a parental conflict, they have seen their father and mother fighting like enemies. And it was not just a parental conflict, it was not just a conflict between a husband and wife, it was conflict between two enemies, two brutal enemies. And the child had to go through all that mental torture in his or her childhood. And what happens when they grow up? That fear grips in their heart, their confidence level is too less, and they don't want to face the life. And many of them becomes victims of child abuse because they have nobody to guide them. They don't get that real protection that they're supposed to get from their family, and they fail in the school. They're not interested in studies. The teachers will teach, and their understanding level will be less than all other students in that same class who are having their parents with them. And finally, when they enter into life, they will slip into poverty. Many of them leave their school, dropouts, and some of them fall into the overusage of drugs, and some of them, they fall in sexual abuse. And we know that there are people out there just looking for a chance to get somebody for their wishes to be fulfilled. They're looking for somebody there, and this is the time. These children without parents, having both parents, children who are raised up in a family with no father and mother, so they get the chance for them. And many of these small kids in the teenage only becomes mothers, and their kids also entering into a world of difficulties. And these people, when they enter into, these children, when they grow up, when they enter into marriage, divorce again happens in their life too. They fall in depression. These children will always have a suicidal tendency. You say anything, the next moment they think about suicide. They become criminals. Behind many of the crimes that is happening in a city, you can see that children who are not raised up by their parents will be there behind all that. And many of them will be taken to juvenile jail because of their criminal nature. They have an arrogant nature. They don't like anything. They're insecure. They have a feeling of insecurity, and they becomes less successful in their studies, in their life, compared to other children of their same age. And also they have frustration. Life is full of frustration, and they have anger every time. And because of their angry nature, Others will not be able to join with them. Others will keep them away from the friendship. For them, it was not just a parental fight, it was just two criminals fighting against in front of them. So their life is totally insecure. They live in an insecure world. They will not be able to do anything creatively in their life. And so we see that behind every unsuccessful children who are not coming up to the mark, especially in a competitive world like this, we see that either from a divorced family or they are from a family where they are born not in a marriage relationship. Some of them don't know who their father is, illegal pregnancy, and they are born without any relationship. So family is the best place for children to grow. Bible says that it is better to be in a family than being alone. So it is the primary need of every one of us to be in a family, especially for the children. They have to be in the family. And John chapter 15 verse 13, I always say, greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friend. Mothers may love this child, but this mother sometimes fail to love their husband. And some of these mothers fails to enjoy a married life. And they don't want to be subject to a husband. In the same way, husbands also becomes like that. But that is against the social norms. That's against the nature's principle of having a family. In Genesis chapter 2 verse 18, it says that it's not good that a man should be alone. When we say man, it can be a woman also. It's not good for you to be alone. You should have a helper, a partner in your life. And that is what Bible also says. So when we think about these children who do not have any hope about the future just because they don't have a father and mother along with them, I always emphasize the fact that the children should be growing in a background or in a setup where they have their father and mother along with them.